Thank you. Somehow I got the big lectern.
I know.
Ah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. On the screen in front of you is the session's topic: how to maximize both your happiness and wealth. I am Emma Davidson. This here is my business partner and husband, Miles Staude. Yeah.
Investing happiness.
Investing happiness. Here we are. Now, I know that maybe investing happiness sounds a little bit wokey. It sounds like I'm about to ask you to close your eyes, hold hands, breathe deeply, find spiritual peace with your portfolio.
I mean, with the markets we've had the last few months, maybe that's not a bad idea.
Well,
Bit of spiritual peace.
But instead of a meditation session, I have compromised, and I'm going to start our talk off with a few inspirational quotes, because who doesn't love an inspirational quote? Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, Miles.
Dalai Lama, the original happiness guru.
And then we thought, okay, what does Warren have to say? Inner peace is knowing you didn't panic sell the bottom. Classic wazza. My personal favorite, the secret to happiness is patience, compounding, and ignoring experts under 40.
And thankfully, I think we all make the 40 barrier here.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, Emma and I don't have to rely on any of these sagely words of wisdom. We actually have the answer for happiness, the real answer, the secret to happiness. And because we're here today with our favourite people at our favourite conference, we're going to lift the lid and share the secret of happiness with all of you.
Boom! There it is. Thank you so much for having us. Honestly, thanks, guys.
That.
We'll leave you to it. We're just kidding. We're going to actually stay and make you memorize this, this
bit of
formula.
maths.
Miles actually wanted to do that, and I said, no, babe, no.
To walk away with like practical life skills.
No. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to take this idea, the idea behind this formula, and we're going to turn it into plain English that you can use.
The formula comes from a famous economist, a Nobel Prize-winning economist, Robert Merton. And in investing, it's basically the formula for happiness. At its heart, it tries to answer a really fundamental question, and a question that, if we're honest, a lot of us don't actually ask, which is, how much of your wealth should you be investing? So not what you should invest into. There's no shortage of people talking about that today, or what kind of return can I get? But a much more important question, I think, how much of my wealth should I invest, given my tolerance for risk, and the life I want to live? And that's what Emma and I are talking about today when we talk about investing for happiness. Our goal today is that you all leave here with 3 simple rules that make you better investors, let you compound your wealth faster, and then one special term at the end that makes this all personal to you. I think we had a cheat sheet of our rules there. Here we are. So first lesson that we hope you walk away with today: for compounding wealth, risk is much, much more important than return. Secondly, this sounds a bit nuanced, but it's important, and we'll touch on it later.
And it's a clue for later.
It's a clue for later. You want to think about investing a constant percentage of your wealth, not a constant dollar amount. It's more important than you might think. And then lastly, the one that I think is probably the most powerful: never overbet. Even when the odds are in your favor, even when you've got the guaranteed investment return, overbetting can be absolutely disastrous. And at the end of all of this, we're going to add a human piece, your own personal happiness curve, which is this really cool idea we're going to talk about later on.
Okay, let's start off with risk. Starting off with risk might feel a bit foreign, because let's be honest, we all love talking about returns. Returns are exciting. They're what we talk about at the barbecue. Risk, by comparison, sounds boring. But it's the financial equivalent of eating our vegetables, let's be honest.
We're getting our kids to eat their vegetables.
But as you said, risk management has a much bigger effect on long-term wealth than chasing returns. And to show this, we're going to play a little game. Don't worry, nobody's going to come up on stage. This is a low-risk game. Go on.
And I want you all to take a moment. Imagine that Emma and I have given you all $100. We're really generous people like that.
We're not.
Well, and we're going to play a game. You've got a coin. You're going to flip a coin 100 times. And every time you flip that coin, you're going to make an even money bet. And an even money bet's very simple. It just means you bet $10 and you win, you make $10. You bet $10 and you lose the $10. So that's what an even money bet means. The kicker here is this is not an ordinary coin. It's loaded 60-40 in your favor. So every time you flip the coin, there's a 60% chance you're going to win and only a 40% chance you're going to lose. These are the best gambling odds you're ever going to get, much better than the bookie will ever give you. The question is not whether you want to play the game, but the game we want you all to play with us now is how much or how you should bet.
Now, we're going to give you 6 betting strategies. Yep. And those betting strategies are option 1, go all in every time.
So you bet your entire bankroll. You win, you keep getting, you keep going. Yep.
Option 2 and 4, you bet a constant number. So $20 in the case of option 2, $5 in the case of option 4. Option 3 and 5 is a constant percentage of your wealth, 20% or 5%. Or you could choose option 6, doubling down. So that's
the old gambler's favorite. So you bet $10 and if you lose, then you bet $20 and if you lose, you bet $40. You just keep doubling the bet till you win it all back.
Okay, so take a moment to think about your $100. You've got 100 flips on the 60-40 coin. Which one are you choosing?
What's your strategy?
To make the most money.
The winner is the one that walks away with the most money at the end of the game.
No backsies.
Going to do the honor test here. Once you've chosen, you've got to keep it to yourself. Okay, so let's have a look at what happens. We've got our magic coin. We're going to flip it 100 times. We've got a table here. It shows the 6 betting strategies you could choose. Hopefully everyone's chosen one of those. And then 4 ways to think about the outcome from our coin flipping game. You've got expected ending wealth and most likely ending wealth, and we'll talk about the difference between those. And then you've got the probability of ending with more than $100. So what's the likelihood, started the game with 100, what's the likelihood you at least finish the game with 100? And then lastly, the odds are 60-40 in your favor. You hope that's not too possible, but what's the probability you lose half of your money, even though this is the best bet the bookies are ever going to give you? And we're going to start off with looking at the expected ending wealth column. And I want to do that because most people instinctively this is the way that most people instinctively think about investing. Essentially, you multiply each possible outcome by its probability. So if you're making an investment and you think, right, there's an equal 25% chance I'm going to make a 5, 10, 15 or 20% return on that investment, then you just average the 4 probabilities and your expected return would be 12.5%. So it's essentially the average of all the probabilities of the outcomes. So now that we know what expected end wealth means, let's have a little look at the table. Holy dooly. So if you went all in on each hand, your expected ending wealth, over $8 billion. It's not bad. Now the reason your expected ending wealth is $8 billion is because there's a tiny, tiny probability
minuscule
you could flip 100 heads in a row. And if you did flip 100 heads in a row, you'd be the world's first non-millionaire. More money than everyone in the world combined.
Take that, AI.
Take that, Zuckerberg. While it's theoretically possible, of course, you're not going to flip 100 coins in a row. Even with the coin 60-40 in your favor, nobody flips 100 heads in a row. And this is obviously an extreme example, but it makes an important point. While thinking about expected returns or average returns is very common in investing, it can be quite misleading. You've got to be very careful when you use that as your investing paradigm. So we want to show now the rest of the results of the game. And I'd like everyone to spend a minute looking at the most likely ending wealth. And the most likely ending wealth means the most common result. So what's the most common outcome you would have gotten from playing your game and choosing your betting strategy? And I want you all to have a little look at options 1, 2, and 6. The all-in, the constant $20 bet, and the gambler's favorite of doubling down if you ever lose. And the results for all of those are 0. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? You went into this game with the odds 60-40 in your favor. You never get odds that good. But if you choose the wrong betting strategy or the wrong betting size, the most likely outcome is you actually end up with 0. You lose a whole $100.
And herein lies a crucial lesson. Being right, as I have learned in my marriage, is not enough. It's not enough. You can be right about the odds. You can be right about the investment, but if you size the investment badly, you can end up with a terrible result. That is why risk management matters more than chasing returns. Now, I'd like to just take a moment to compare the constant dollar amounts with the percentage amounts. And what you can see here is that in each scenario, the percentage of wealth has done better than the constant dollar amount. And I think, you get to a place if you do this long enough and you look at the probabilities enough, you see that the constant percentage of wealth gives you much higher returns for lower risk. So while it's often easier to think, I'm going to invest $10,000 into this and I'm going to invest $10,000 into that, as a general rule, you will be far better and you will have far better investment returns with lower risk if you think about investing as a constant percentage of your wealth. And higher returns with lower risk should make all of us happier.
That's right. So there's your first happiness trick. Constant percent, not constant dollar size. Now this one I think is probably the most fascinating for me, and this is the one I really want to sort of ram home today, and it's the risk of over-betting. This chart here shows what happens if you bet a constant percentage of your wealth on a 100 flip coin game. Remember, the odds are 60-40 in your favor. Those are incredibly good odds. And as you increase your bet size, you go from 0 to 5 to 10 to 15. As you increase your bet size with each flip, your expected ending wealth keeps going up, which you sort of intuitively think's right. And in our game, it peaks at 20% at about $750. But then something really interesting happens. As you keep increasing the size of the bets, your expected ending wealth starts to fall. And once you get to 40%, it goes negative, which I find absolutely staggering. You turned up to a game where the odds were 60-40 in your favor, but if you bet as aggressively as this, your expected ending wealth is negative. You'd be better off not taking the bet from the bookie.
And I guess that's overbetting, right?
That's overbetting. That's exactly the risk of overbetting.
And overbetting is not something that just happens in casinos. Investors do it all the time. They find a stock that they love, they put far too much money into it. They concentrate their portfolio in one theme, one sector, one country. They very well might be right about the opportunity, but the sizing is wrong.
So from our bet flipping game, hopefully we've got our 3 earlier lessons. First, managing risk, much more important than managing returns. You had a 60-40 game, as good as odds you could really get, and if you don't manage risk, you're going to end up losing money. Secondly, it sounds nuanced, but it makes a big deal, especially if you're going to invest over a long period of your life. Investing a constant percentage of your wealth, higher returns and lower risk than investing a constant dollar amount. And then thirdly, be attuned to the risk of overbetting. Even when you're sure about the investment, even when it's a fantastic opportunity, overbetting can produce terrible results. These results, or these rules, get us most of the way there to Dalai Lama-like happiness, but they haven't answered the personal question yet. The one we really want to touch on today, we'll come to next, which is really, how do you know how much of your own personal wealth you should invest in the market?
Exactly. So far we've talked about how to size our investments as if we are a disciplined, unemotional, spreadsheet-loving robot like Miles.
Hey.
But we are not. We are not. We are human beings. We have families, mortgages, retirement plans, and really different feelings about money. And this is where Merton's work comes in
so
really handy.
The formula,
It kind of gives us a way to connect the investment risk with the personal risk tolerance that we all have deep down.
And this is probably the next section. It's really important, and we'll start off with another game to sort of clear your mind. And I want you to imagine that your fairy godmother's come along and just given you $2 million. So you're looking at your Com bank account or your NAB bank account, it's an extra $2 million.
$2 million?
$2 million sitting there. Life's pretty good. Maybe you're spending it already.
I'm running away.
Hey, oh my God, I'm not doing well at all today. And then the lovely Emma, before she runs away, comes up to you and says, well, congratulations on getting $2 million. Because I'm such a lovely lady, I haven't run away. I'm going to give you a bet. I'm going to give you a chance to turn that $2 million into $4 million. But if you lose, the $2 million goes back to zero. And because I'm such a kind person, I'm going to give you 60-40 odds. So who here, perhaps by a show of hands, who would take a $2 million bet with 60-40 odds?
Show of hands, anyone?
One bet.
Get one. Ah, exactly. Well, this is exactly the point, right? Not many people, in fact, nobody. The bet is in our favor, mathematically, but still, most of us do not want this bet. Not because we're irrational, not because we don't understand the odds. We reject it because the pain of losing $2 million is much greater than the pleasure of turning $2 million into $4 million.
Economists have this great term for that. They call it the diminishing marginal utility of wealth.
Normal people call it, there is absolutely no way in hell I'm losing $2 million. And that is what we call the happiness curve. And everybody has a happiness curve. This chart here shows you, for the first 0 to 1 million, the amount of happiness that it brings us is huge. You can see, it pays for food, housing, security, freedom from stress. As you become wealthier, extra dollars still matter, of course, but every extra dollar may add a little less happiness than the one before. And the losses can hurt more than the equivalent gains help.
And this phenomenon is completely normal. It's completely human, and it cuts to the crux of what we're talking about today, that it's okay to think about investing not just to maximize wealth, but also to maximize happiness. And in the real world, this is really important. If you invest more than your risk tolerance can take, your investing life is going to be miserable. In truth, you're setting yourself up for failures. Down the line, as you try and deal with the stress of the market, you're going to make more and more mistakes. The big insight that Merton brought, and one of the reasons he won his Nobel Prize, was that he married the financial maths of maximizing expected returns with this science of expected utility, which is a big branch of science, statistics, game theory, and mathematics. He brought those two together and essentially came up with this idea of the Merton share.
And what I like about Merton is he shows us that it's actually pretty easy to find your own happiness quotient. And once you have found it, it tends to be pretty stable. But how do we all come up with our happiness quotient? Well, it's actually quite straightforward. There are several well-established surveys you can do, or if you want a quick answer, on the slips on your table, there is with complement slips, there is a QR code. If you follow that QR code, you will see a page that we've set up for the ASA.
One last game.
It just highlights, the talk today, and also gives you a little 5-question game that you can play to work out your happiness quotient number.
And it's really worth doing. It's a 5-question game, and you'll end up with a number, and it's actually quite a powerful number.
In the interest of time, though, we're going to give you the cheat sheet answer, which is that most people end up with a figure somewhere between 2 and 4.
So see if you're between 2 and 4.
And noting that retirees normally sit in the sort of 3 to 4 region.
And Emma's talking about, there's a little with complement slip, not the big piece of paper, but the little...
Both actually have the QR.
Have the QR code. Spend 2 minutes. It'll be fun, and you'll get a number that could actually change your investing life. So we're going to try and bring it all together now. We started off with our big, scary formula.
Yes.
Where Emma and I were going to mic drop and walk off stage. Thankfully, we didn't. And we're going to get rid of that now and turn it into plain English. And in plain English, it basically just says that the amount you should invest, the optimal amount you should invest, depends on risk and return, like you'd expect, but also your own personal level of risk aversion, your happiness quotient number. The obvious parts of the formula say if your expected return from an investment is higher, you should invest more into it. Makes sense. If your expected risk on an investment is higher, you should invest less into it. Makes sense. And the financial maths from that all works nicely. But the bit that Merton brought was this happiness quotient, what we've put up here as the smiley face on the screen. It adjusts how much you should invest by your happiness quotient number, by your risk aversion number.
And notice what this does. It moves us away from this generic investment advice. The world is full of people telling us what to buy. There is much less practical help telling you how much to buy. But as we have learned so far, the how much part is often the more pertinent question. Merton's share gives us a way to think about that.
And to end with, I think we're going to run through an example. Running through an example often brings these ideas, these concepts home. So we're going to imagine Emma's mum, who's thankfully just arrived in Australia. She's got a retirement pot she wants to invest, she wants growth, she wants her money to last, but she also wants to sleep every night. She doesn't want to stress about every up and down in the market. She basically wants her investments to match her happiness curve. What is your answer to where you'd bet $2 million, as we were talking about before? Now, before we get into this example, 2 important caveats. One, the obvious one, we don't know anyone in this room's personal financial circumstances, so this is not personal financial advice. And second, just to say, the formula that, as it is used is known to be a little bit sensitive to its inputs. That's a real-world practical challenge with it, but it doesn't really matter. The whole point of this is not an ironclad law. It's just a very, very helpful guide, particularly for retail investors to size investments. So as long as our answer's in the right ballpark, we're going to get almost all of the benefits that the Merton share can offer us.
Okay, so for this example, let's assume my mom is considering an investment into a typical balanced industry fund. She's not, she's going to buy GVF, but we'll just pretend.
It'll be neutral
balanced industry super fund. We need 3 inputs. First, we need the expected return. Now, you can see there the average, over the last 10 years, the average annual return for the kind of generic average super fund has annualized at around 7%. The risk-free rate has been about 5.1. I'm looking at the 10-year bonds there. And then we have to look at the risk. What has been the risk? Well, we know that over the last decade, the classic industry super fund has averaged at a volatility of around 9%. So we put that into the formula as well. Then we need to put in my mom's happiness quotient. And she did the long 10-minute survey. So we know that her happiness quotient is 3.5. If we put that into the formula.
So she's quite risk averse. If you remember, we said the range is normally for normal people 2 to 4.
Yeah, she's pretty risk averse. And if we plug all that in, high school maths, we get an answer that says she should have about 2/3 of her portfolio exposed to risky assets. The rest should be in the risk-free sort of term deposit sort of area. And just to flex that, I mean, again, as Miles said, this is not iron cast, it's just a good sort of ballpark.
It's a very directionally helpful kind of
Directionally helpful, exactly. Just to flex the formula, if this was me and I was the one investing into the industry super fund, but I had a happiness quotient of 2.5, so I was more risk-seeking than my mum, the formula would tell me to put 100% of my assets into risk assets. What's really crucial here is that it's the same return, it's the same risk, different person, different answer, and I think that's the key insight.
And that's why this is why investing in general is so personal. Not personal in the vague sense of just do whatever feels right, but personal in a disciplined sense. You can, and I'd suggest you should, figure out your happiness quotient. It doesn't take that long. It's a really interesting idea, and you can incorporate that into your investing life for much happier outcomes.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. We began with the Greek alphabet.
Oh. We're going to do tests.
We're going to end with these 4 points. Please, please take them home and use them. Risk is more important than return. Think in percentage of wealth. Never overbet. Use your happiness curve. And if we can ask you to remember one line from our talk today, it would be the secret to investing well is not just finding good opportunities, it is sizing them so they serve your life.
I think that's the only time in my life we're going to get quoted next to a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, that's Rob. Rob and us. We just...
Like this.
We did that. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Are we happy?
Well, I thought we were. I just found out on stage she's leaving me for $2 million.
How long have you been married?
As long as GVF has been going, so for 12 years.
So a while, but I think you should double it. If you work together, then it's double. So we've basically been married 25 years. It's okay.
We have
3 kids. We have 3 kids too. That really flexes the relationship.
Tests that happiness curve.
We do have a question at the back here.
Emma, Miles, thank you. That was a great presentation.
Oh, thanks.
No doubt your happiness quotient is something which is changeable, particularly as you approach and then live in retirement. So how often would you recommend that people sit down and review that aspect of it in conjunction with then looking at their overall portfolio to maybe review their allocation of assets?
Do you want to bring the happiness? Do you mind if I?
Yeah, sure.
If you bring the happiness curve back. So it's a tremendous question. I don't have a precise answer for you. I'm just going to sort of hopefully give some general points. But the fascinating thing about the maths that Emma wouldn't let me go into today is that that world of expected utility is really mind-blowing. What's amazing about finding your happiness quotient is it's very stable. Why it's so powerful in this formula, why it's so usable, is that it's very stable through time. So obviously you're going to have a different happiness quotient when you're 21 than when you're 71. But I don't think it's the kind of thing you need to sort of check and change every year, maybe every 5 years or 10 years, or if there's a major life event.
Yeah, major life event. If you come into a huge amount of money, for example, your happiness quotient may
Because
change.
we were laughing before, like maybe there's someone in the room that's secretly a multi-millionaire and like they're very happy to take a $2 million bet on a 60-40 odds, whereas the rest of us plebs would never do that.
Plebs. That's what I mean.
Well, I don't have a secret $10 million. But yeah, I mean, the wonderful thing about it is it's very stable. So yes, you should check in with it all the time, but I wouldn't worry too much. Normally, once you've got a sense of it, it's pretty stable through time. Yeah. G'day.
Good afternoon, and thank you for an interesting, alternative way of thinking here. I guess and this is the graph actually I wanted to talk about, because I get the numbers, I think we all get the maths. The logic problem I have is that there's no concept of time value. So what I mean by that is, so 10 or 20 years ago, $1 million was 3 houses in Sydney. Now it's not even half a house, and there's only one logic problem with that, is that you can't buy half a house.
Yes.
So my question is that the quantum of these numbers needs to move over time for this to work, I think, and I don't see that. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, that's a very fair point. I guess where I go back on, the maths works beautifully. So what the maths is it essentially does for you, if you think back to the coin flipping game, is it works out the optimal point that you will compound wealth as fast as you can. Now, to know that optimal point, you have to know the expected return of the investment and the expected risk of the investment, and nobody knows that in advance. But as I was saying before, again, the maths is really generous like this. As long as you're in the right ballpark, you're going to get 90% of the benefit. So the math works fine. The expected utility idea, your constant relative risk aversion term, works really well. And I don't know if the numbers would really change. So it's an interesting thought. But like, if you start sort of here, and through time inflation eats you up to here, I think your curve would still say similar. I'd have to think about that a bit more. But I mean, yes, over 30 years, you'd want to check in with it once or twice. But I guess what I'm trying to say, and perhaps not the best way, is that what the Merton share is telling you is what the optimal amount you can put into an investment is. So if inflation comes through the system, I guess that juggles everything around. But you're still faced with the question of how much should I put into a house? How much should I put into the stock market? And I think it's still quite a powerful tool to do that. And just to add, this in academia, this has sort of been well established for 50 years that this is the right way to invest. And what's fascinating about it, and why we wanted to do it as a topic today, is outside of academia, Merton's work is almost unheard of, which is kind of crazy. Like, the math looks a bit scary, but it's not. We're hoping today.
But it's also quite sensitive, right? I mean, if you have an investment that has done very well, for example, has had good returns and low risk, the Merton's formula will tell you to go leveraged into that. So you have to have a little bit of sort of common sense to it as well.
That's true, but then I guess there's two really good rebuttals to that. One, the formula is correct. So if you can find an investment that has tremendous returns and low risk, you should invest a lot into it. But the trick is, can you really find those in advance? And then secondly, if people are interested, there's some really practical rules of thumb. Like, you can just say, I'm never going to invest more than 100% into anything. So Merton's share in extremis could say you should invest 150% into an investment, which says you should borrow 50 to invest 150. And that would be working out the right investment for you. Maybe you would have taken the bet with the fairy godmother. Maybe you're a thrill seeker with a high risk aversion number or a low risk aversion number, and then the math works fine. But practical workarounds, you can't invest more than 100. You don't want to go below 0. Directionally, it's a really powerful kind of thing to use.
Couple things. If anyone's having an issue with the survey, or the game, come to the stand, the Global Value Fund stand. I'll help you out with that. And I'm not going to stop anyone from getting to tea and cakes. So we'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.